during the fracking operations, which lasted approximately 2 weeks, in the summertime, she had to keep her windows closed and her kids in the house because the dust from the fracking operation was so bad coming over into her house that they couldn't breathe outside. It's bad when the industry says it's only sand. It's not just sand. It has other contaminants in it. It has contents in it, such as a silicant that will lodge itself in your lungs. And it is kind of like a burdock, we call it like a burdock, and it sticks to your lungs and it will cause you to hemorrhage and bleed to death.
All right, that's that sand that she's talking about. That's a fracking operation right there. And that is our neighbor's property. And to the east or to the right of that is where a family with 2 little babies live. So can you imagine what happened? This is what they do. They're dusting the road because there's a lot of trucks that go on that road, and it's continuously putting mud on that road. With the water contamination, that's selective. Not everybody's going to have contaminated water. But when you live in a low-lying area where compressor, the fumes from that are going to come, that will settle in the low-lying area. This dust is going to affect you. People that come and visit our farm, they say, you know, are you stuffy? It's like, well, we're always stuffy now. You know, this is something that you come accustomed to.
And the compressor stations are going to be needed down here as well, along the pipelines that they're going to be putting in, so that is a major concern. They're probably one of the highest air quality contaminants around, and they aren't monitored on a cumulative effect, so every time they add a compressor on, they do an independent air monitoring of it.
The next one is the land loss. This is on a farm, and what they did is they just take this land out, and they tell you that, oh, it'll only be out for a little bit, and then we're going to reclaim it. But what they don't tell you is, I remember about 3 years ago going to a seminar, and it's like, oh, it's only 1 well. They went to 3 wells, 6 wells, now it's 12 wells. They only drill 1 well on there. Every 5 years they come back and they drill another well. Can you imagine? 5 times 12, that's 60 years that land will be out of production. So we're finding that to be a problem. And you have something to say about that, don't you? About 50% of the farmland?
Well, that was on my farmland.
Oh, okay. All right. This is a pipeline. They just go right through the trees, and we'll show you a picture where they just ground up the trees. So
I guess the other thing I want to add on this is no one in the state has done an impact study on the erosion and sedimentation that this kind of operation is going to cause. The trees coming down, the forest being deforested, the effects on the wildlife and on fringe borders, nobody's done a study on it.
This is my road, Aunt Carolyn's road. She lives up north of that. When I went to go pick her up to go to a meeting, I had to gun it with my 4-wheel drive to make it through a 2-foot, it's a ditch. I mean, you couldn't get through it. This was a blacktop road. And now it's nothing. It was nothing.
They have rebuilt it, and the industry will tout that they have spent a lot of money on their roads, and they have spent it. But we have said and will always maintain that those monies will no doubt come out of the landowner's royalty as production costs.
Yeah, we will, as landowners, we will pay for that. But in your impact fee, that bill, our state representative says that we need that bill because we need to maintain the bridges and the roads. In reality, we're already paying for it. So where is the money going? Number. I hope you guys can see this. This is up above my home, and they took out 1/3 of the woods and a whole field, and they're grinding it. They're grinding that timber right up. We have a place that's called Craftmaster, which makes like paneling, and they employ 900 people, and their jobs are in danger because they can't get any wood. The woods are not leaving there to make it to the factory, to make it to paneling. They're just grinding it up. That's what they're doing. So we are watching the timber loss.
This also has affected us as farmers as well. It's become very difficult for us to get sawdust up there because either the industry uses it, or in this case, when they do this big of an operation, they just let it sit there. In fact, they fill up socks, silk socks, and they import soil from I don't know where to fill up these socks instead of using this sawdust that they grind up. They just let it sit in the woods because they don't want to deal with the timber. In fact, one of the industry workers we had an opportunity to speak with said to Carol that he hated the woods up there. He wished there wasn't a tree up there at all, and the industry would be very glad if it was all out of the way. So it would make their job easier.
Think about that though. We burn with wood. That's a type of energy. That is a nuisance. Let's get rid of the other competition so you will be relying on natural gas. That's what he's really saying. Okay, when I first took this picture, I thought somebody didn't know how to cut down a tree. But this is off the Vinoy well site. What happened was there was a spill. There was almost 500,000 gallons of frac fluid that made it out of this containment pond. They used to, about in 2008, 2009, have containment ponds on the well site. And that made its way out. And then 2 weeks later, 500 gallons of hydrochloric acid made it into the pond, and it passed through here. The sap fed into the tree and burned it. Our wonderful state agency, DEP, told the gas company to come down and bury them. They did. Since then, last May, Carolyn and I were making our rounds, and we found them reclaiming it. They were planting 235 trees, and already there's a path where these trees are already dying. Chesapeake knows what they're doing, though. Chesapeake made an agreement with this subcontractor and said, if they die within a year, you have to replace them. Can you imagine how much it's going to cost a subcontractor to continue replacing these trees? Okay, we're going to show you some more pictures of that. And we went to Williamsport yesterday and we looked into this file. It's huge. And what they have done was amazing. We did talk to one worker that worked on the Vinoy well site. And he told us exactly what happened. They put him in like a boom into that pit, the water pit. And they told him to use a special tape to tape up the liner. Well, the special tape was duct tape. and you know, most of it didn't hold because they pulled the liner out. And this is a fresh sod where this well pad was built. So this fresh sod could not possibly hold that water. It had to give way. And then it gave way to this pond. Okay?
You want to speak about the pond a little bit, or are you going to speak about that later?